Hello everybody, so introducing Volvo's very first brick, the 144. So we're going to take a closer look at this 51-year-old tank and you're going to give it the thumbs up or the thumbs down. So everybody remembers the Volvo 240 well. This was the one before it. They actually made around 500,000 of these between 1966 and 1974, and this set the styling scene for the later boxy Volvos that everybody remembers. So this one's an early 1973 facelift model. They moved the indicators from there up to there, and I think as a small detail, they moved that grille badge from there down to there. So this one is the deluxe model. I know this because it says it on the badge. You know who you are. It's a 144, which means it's a 1 series, 4-cylinder engine and 4 doors, and your deluxe sits right in the middle of the range. Right, so let's take a wee look at the exterior styling. So I think this thing is super cool. It's quite a big car actually when you look at it. And all I can think of when I look at it is an old 240 rather than it being an actual 144. I guess a lot of these were probably scrapped before I was even born. So like the 240s, you get this lovely bit of styling where the doors actually come out here. And all it says is safety. These are big, thick, heavy doors. They're not like typical doors you would see in a 70s car. This one's fitted with obviously aftermarket Wolf Race wheels. That's a matter of taste whether you like them. Personally not my taste, but I guess they do look quite cool in a retro sort of way. Got this big chrome strip along the side here. But it is just quite a big robust looking car. And then round the front, well, it does look quite unusual from the front. I mean, ignoring that grille with the Volvo badge in the middle and the diagonal line, it just doesn't really look like a Volvo from the front in my opinion. But I mean, it's huge. I mean, if you look at the size of that, you know, it does look very, very robust. These big metal bumpers here. I'm guessing it was probably one of the safest cars in its time, if not the safest. You've just got these big single headlamps again. They're probably quite big for practicality. They were probably very, very functional. A lot of different bits of chrome around the grille. So yeah, I think it looks quite cool. Just a little bit unusual in it, and it doesn't immediately say to you, I am a Volvo. So guys, what do we think of the rear? Got these really old-fashioned badges, you know, the Volvo and the Deluxe. That's pretty cool. Little chrome release there for the boot lid. These black number plates. And this exhaust exits out at an angle, quite period, and obviously the chrome bumpers with the rubber inserts there. And you've got that fog light hanging down over there. I think that is what they done in the 70s. Things were just added on rather than incorporated into the rest of the styling. Right then, so what's under the bonnet? Well, these came with 2 engines, 1.8 and 2 litre. This is a 2 litre. It's fitted with a Stromberg carburetor on it. Obviously longitudinally mounted, rear wheel drive. Plenty of space in here to work. This one looks pretty decent actually. I've never seen one of these in the flesh before. Some unusual things just to comment on. Yeah, it looks like a steering box down here. So one unusual thing to comment on here is the steering column. You can see it actually comes through here, through the bulkhead over the inner wing into what looks like a steering box. Other things to note on these is I think there was quite an unusual braking circuit in them, so that instead of them just being split diagonally, they were split so that there was always 3 on one circuit. So and it was always the front 2, so it was the front 2 plus the rear left, and then front 2 plus the rear right. So again, another good safety feature, so you always had both front brakes if one circuit failed. So yeah, pretty decent. I think these were in the region of 92 to 95 brake horsepower with the carb. Put in the comments if that is wrong, and they weigh roughly about 1,300 kilos. So we'll take it on the road and see how it performs. Right, let's take a wee look at this interior. So we've got cloth upholstery here. The carpets are actually in the boot on this one. I think they got wet at some point. So yeah, these doors, big heavy doors for a 70s car. Got this vinyl trim. You've got these period Pioneer speakers cut into the door trims there. So that looks pretty cool. Obviously windy windows there. And you've got this little door bin here for putting your stuff in. And this interesting little handle for opening the doors. So that's pretty cool. Handbrake, unusually, is to the right, like Ferraris. And sitting in it, wow, I mean, it's actually a really, really comfy car. So let's take a wee look at that dashboard. We're showing 151,000 miles. We don't have the strip speedometer like the early pre-facelift ones, which is a shame. I did see one of them at the weekend and that looks pretty cool. Obviously your temperature gauge and your fuel tank. And then brake failure. So we don't want that one to come on. Parking brake obviously for your handbrake. And oil and amps. Let's take a look down here in the console. You've got a clock in the middle, your 2 air vents. Fog lamps, heated rear window. Hazard light, I don't know what that is and I don't know what that is, so we'll probably not touch them. So that looks like heater controls separate for each side. So has that actually got split climate control? So put in the comments if you know how this works and if it is actually separate to each side of the car. It probably isn't. That's obviously your fan control there. And at the bottom you have a very original looking Volvo 8 stereo. How cool is that thing? And no sport mode obviously on the transmission, and it'll be a 3-speed one. That wee button on the top there just to unlock it. The fabric's actually quite dark, but that is quite period, I suppose, for the early 70s. Right, let's take it for a drive. Nice positive clunk to that seatbelt. Volvo safety and all that. Oil and amp light on. Starts on the button. So that's positive. Right, let's get this into drive. No power steering in this one, by the way. It's a big heavy old bus. Well, not by today's standards, but 1,300 odd kilos is still heavy when you've got no power steering and it's really warm and you've got no aircon. Right, into drive. Right, so what are my very first impressions of driving the 144? Well, the seating position is great for me. That steering wheel is nice and close. Pedals are quite far away and the seat is actually super comfy. My shoulder blades are well pressed into the backrest there, so that's my first initial thought is, God, this is actually quite a comfy place to be for a 70s car. The next thing I noticed just on driving away there, how smooth is the gearbox. It was picking up drive there really, really nicely, very progressive, obviously not fast. You wouldn't expect it to be. I mean, this is only a 3-speed, so it's not going to be a fast test drive today for you guys, but I hope to make it an enjoyable one. So again, the steering wheel is interesting. Very, very thin steering wheel rim, and then this big padded area in the centre here, which is of course the horn. So again, safety orientated, so you're not hitting your head off any sharp bits. And once the car's actually up and running, you know, the steering isn't too bad. It is just that manoeuvring when you're stationary that you do get to work out your arms a little bit. So the switch gear, these super skinny little rods as such, very, very precise. You know, 51 years old, and it doesn't seem to be anywhere in those indicators, so that's really weird. Everything's actually within good reach as well. Apart from the stereo, that's a bit of a reach down there, but I do have short arms. But everything else, like your heater controls and your switch gear, so they're all in a great position, really. And over here you've got your choke and interior lights. Right, so how does it drive? So steering is a little bit vague. Well, certainly the first good few degrees of steering turn is vague. You can see there we do have a wee bit play going on. Or is that what the steering boxes are actually like in these? This is my car suspension at test route here, and it's quite a wallowy road. I mean, it's soaking them up quite well. I mean, I'm not pressing on, I'm only doing 35 mile an hour, but it is making it quite a relaxing drive. Bit of play in the steering, but that might just be the case. It's a steering box, and I'm not used to that. And like I said, it is actually reasonably light once you're up and running. And that gearbox is so smooth pulling away. Only one thing to note is the accelerator pedal is actually quite stiff on this, so it takes a little bit of getting used to. So a little bit more pressure than you'd expect to get the car moving. Now, we're not going to give this old car too much stick because it is 51 years old. But we'll floor it out here once we get in the straight, see what it's got. And that's just floored, I guess, in first gear, into second, still in second, and that's just into third, the 50. So that's as far as I'm going to take the old girl. So it's very progressive. I don't know what the 0 to 60 would be. I guess it would probably be in the region of 20 seconds or something, but it's not that bad. But it's not that bad for a 51-year-old car. It's not that bad for a 51-year-old car. So I think I'll just sit and cruise quite happily at 50 mile an hour. That's probably where the sweet spot in this car is. You've got temperature sitting rock solid at the normal mark, and we have just over a quarter of a tank of petrol, so I'm hoping that's accurate and we're not going to get stuck somewhere. I'm surprised at how smoothly this thing changes gears for a 51-year-old car. Now, one thing to note, that 2-litre engine is quite harsh. There is quite a lot of engine noise coming in through the cabin. The exhaust, you really can't hear. It's all engine. Put in the comments if that's naturally what they're like. I'm assuming it probably is for something that was designed in the 60s. I think the thing is as well, we're sitting at 50 here. We don't have a rev counter, and I suspect I'm probably over 3,000 RPM at the moment. So the short gearing probably doesn't help matters with the sound intrusion into the cabin. When you initially drive the car, there's that dead space of about a third of a pedal travel, where you're like, oh, we've got no brakes, but we actually do. And then as soon as you get down that third, they bite really well actually, and they're quite strong. So it's just to remind yourself, the first third doesn't do anything. We'll get the speed back up a wee bit on this suspension test route that I've got, and we'll see how it does. And here's a bumpy bit coming up. Yeah, so that was that was interesting, quite wallowy there. Yeah, so it's definitely set up quite soft, this car. Right, so what do you guys think? Volvo 144, 2-litre, 8-valve, carburetor, 3-speed automatic, something you'd like to buy? I think it'd be a nice little cruiser, to be fair. As long as you weren't cruising over 50 mile an hour. That poor engine just sounds a little bit painful above 50. The poor wee 2-litre engine sounds a wee bit strained over 50 mile an hour. Give it another wee squeeze down here then. There we go. It's not too bad. I'll definitely be slowing down for the corners though. So put in the comments if you've owned a 3-speed Volvo 144. What was your impressions? Did you enjoy it? Did you own one back in the 70s and it was your family car? I'd love to hear what you thought of them back then. Okay guys, what do I think of the 51-year-old Swedish tank, the 144? Right, so we'll start first of all with the things I don't like. I think the engine's quite harsh. There's a lot of engine noise coming into the cabin, and I think mated with the 3-speed box, you know, when you get up to 50, 55, 60 mile an hour, it does sound a little bit painful, that you're torturing it a little bit. Like I said, there's no exhaust noise, it is all from the engine bay, so I'm not that keen on the noise levels and the harshness of the engine. And the steering, well, the steering is a little bit vague for my liking. And the third thing, automatic gearbox. I mean, I guess this probably goes for a lot of older cars. I couldn't think of a reason why I would want the automatic over the manual version. I think you'd definitely be a little bit better with that manual one. It'd be interesting to know if the gear ratios were a wee bit longer. That would probably suit the car a lot better. Now on to positives, there's loads of positives. It's a big, robust car. So when you're driving it, you feel like you're, even 51 years, even for a 51-year-old car, it does feel a big, solid and safe car. And there's a lot of nice, quirky little styling features. It is super comfy, and that is high on my list. And now I am getting older, I like to have a car that's comfy to drive and is usable. And from what I gather, these were pretty reliable old beasts that were built and put together very, very well. So that's a big plus point for me. So would I own one and buy one? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'd specifically go out my way to hunt one down, but it's certainly been a positive experience driving one today. So thanks to the owner of this car, Scott from Retroshite, who has allowed me to drive it and review it. I'll put a link in the description to his website, and this car will actually form part of one of his car competitions, so you'll get the chance to actually own this car. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the next one.